Thursday, June 6, 2024. Peace is a part to the prosperity of a nation. Let peace reign. On the news this afternoon. Uncertainty looms as minimum wage negotiation resumes. Residents recount on committee. Former Vice President Abubakar giving Nigerians about fuel subsidy. In other foreign scene, Israeli airstrike kills at least 35 people at UN school in Gaza. I'm Ife Chukwumoilu with the news. The federal government yesterday failed to present new demand above the 60,000 naira minimum wage at the resumed negotiations with organized labor, raising concerns about the likely resumption of strikes. Recall that the organized labor suspended indefinite strike after an agreement that negotiations has been exceeded by the government. The Tripartite Committee on National Minimum Wage postponed the session yesterday in anticipation of the Minister of Finance, Wale Edu, submitting the salary template to President Bola Tinubu today. Negotiations for a new minimum wage will continue today. Meanwhile, some civil servants in Rivers State are expressing doubt over the federal government's capacity to implement the agreement to be reached at the ongoing negotiations on minimum wage. Our correspondent spoke to some workers at the Rivers State Secretariat complex yesterday as they resumed work after the strike.
The main issue now is how long it will take before it will be implemented. Let's hope that the negotiation turns out positive.
The way federal government just they do their things, they do them like say people where they work for civil service, not be human being. They know they buy fuel as they buy. Just look at the take home for only senators, almost 30 million naira in a month. These 2 days, me at the first, you know they're enough. We for do them like 1 week.
As a civil servant that is paying rent, landlords they have increased their house rent. It's from that salary they pay your rent. You have children that go to school. From that small salary, you pay school fees, and everything is costly in the market. If they manage and pay that 100,000 naira to help a little.
Some lawyers also spoke about the impact of the strike on court cases.
The impact is that it slows down the expeditious hearing of cases, and the litigants and lawyers have a particular expectation from the judiciary. In as much as the strike is for a meaningful cause, the government should try to listen so that everything will go back to normal.
One, it had impact on lawyers. Normal lawyers are paid according to their appearances. For those lawyers, it means they didn't earn anything for that yesterday. For litigants, for example, for inmates who were supposed to be here yesterday, and they couldn't make it to court because of the strike. So it means invariably delayed proceedings for them.
In the meantime, some residents of Port Harcourt are calling on the federal government to prioritize the reduction of prices for essential commodities and fixing the country's refineries. They spoke on Nigerian Info FM's Talking Figures program.
I am still surprised to see that in my community, yesterday was my community market, and a basin of garri was sold at the price of 18,000 naira. First time in the history of this community, and I see it as a sad thing because of the economic situation of the nation. Let the federal government please release one commodity that is very, very essential in the living of our citizens. Let that refinery be fixed up so that the means of transportation will help to curb the prices of commodities in our nation.
We are just struggling to put food on our table. This surprising and shocking. The high cost of transportation.
Speaking as a guest on the show, the Rivers State Zonal Coordinator of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, Chukwuma Uchebu, spoke on how the government is responding to the rising food prices.
If we can have buses that will be safety compliant and run on gas, the price of movement of food will reduce. And then if we start getting food from Nigeria and refined, the price of diesel will definitely come down. So all these cumulatively will bring down the price of food. I have my product, I sell it so that I can also use it to exchange for the one that I need.
He said the Commission has submitted its report and recommendations after their market survey aimed at tackling food inflation. The Talking Figures radio program is a news-driven business show that airs every Wednesday at 2 p.m. on 92.3 Nigeria Info FM. Now, as the search continues for two young women, Celine Ndudim and Afiba Tando, who went missing after leaving Port Harcourt to visit a Facebook friend Andrew Amechi in Aba, Abia State, a security expert, Ife Wanogo, has shared precautions.
What are the mutual friends you have with the person? What does the person do? Is there a known address of the person? Is there any way for you to cross-check and find out if the person actually is who he says he is in terms of what he does or where he stays? So there ought to be things that satisfy you that you can have some reasonable measure of trust on the person. Of course, you cannot know entirely any human being.
As you may know, photos of the two young girls are trending online after they were reported missing on April 27th. The police recently discovered a body near the location where the girls last shared their location before their phones became unreachable. According to activist Harrison Gwamnishu, the location was close to the home of Andrew Amechi, the suspect who was recently shot, killed by the police while trying to escape. And now, the chairman of National Association of Nurses and Midwives, University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital UPTH, Madonna Wichendo, says the person indicted by the investigative report which revealed alarming practices at the intensive unit of the UPTH is not a nurse. Recall that the Guardian newspaper had revealed alarming practices by some nurses in the hospital's intensive care unit, which include selling oxygen and patients' medications for personal gain. Speaking with our correspondent, Madonna Wichendo said the report is targeted at defaming the character of nurses.
Is such a very funny one, defaming the characters of nurses who work in the intensive care unit of all places, who are so diligent and professional, who do their job, even to the point of at times using their personal money to ensure that some of their patients get their food or any other thing even before their relatives come there. And the person in question, the name mentioned, is not a nurse. There is no nurse in UPTH by that name, Okolie Tina.
Meanwhile, some relatives of patients at the University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital UPTH are urging the River State government and the hospital management to urgently address the inhumane practices of some health workers in the hospital. Speaking anonymously to our correspondent, a relative of one of the patients narrated how the oxygen cylinder he had paid for went missing at the ICU.
They came, we had cylinders on ground, and then I was asked to buy an additional cylinder. Then by the time I bought that, the oxygen guy took me to that place, and then we saw the oxygen, 2 oxygen plus the one I bought, making it 3. The same night, call was put across to us that the oxygen is finished. That same night, we had to buy another oxygen, making it 4 cylinders. And then when I came in the morning, all the oxygen disappeared. Only one was remaining for the patient.
The relative also recounted how they paid healthcare officials to accompany them for tests outside the hospital due to a lack of equipment to conduct the needed tests at the hospital.
Test was supposed to be run on her, and then there was no way to run the test in the hospital because the equipments are not there. We were referred outside to go and run the test in a very critical condition of the patient. Now, taking the patient out from the hospital, the nurses demanded that we had to take an ambulance, and the ambulance is hospital ambulance. We have to pay for the ambulance. We have to pay the driver who will drive it. We have to pay the nurse that will have to take us out. We also have to pay the oxygen technician who had to follow us.
Still to come, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar accuses President Tinubu of deceiving Nigerians about fuel subsidy. Stay with us.
This is the news on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
Yeah, welcome back, and now the rest of the news. The House of Representatives has mandated security agencies in the country to conduct a thorough investigation into the circumstances that led to the murder of soldiers by gunmen in Aba, Abia State. In a motion by Abubakar Yaliman, the House asked its committees on defense to interface with the armed forces to ensure a comprehensive investigation to fish out those responsible for the act. The House also asked the committee to report back to it within 4 weeks. The PDP has denied speculations that it has started merger talks with other political parties ahead of the 2027 general election. National Publicity Secretary of the party, Debo Ologunwawa, said this in a statement in Abuja. Now, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar is asking President Bola Tinubu to stop deceiving Nigerians about his administration's true position on fuel subsidy. In a statement yesterday, Atiku explained that contrary to the president's public posturing about removing fuel subsidy, the Tinubu administration has been secretly paying trillions of naira as subsidy on premium motor spirits petrol. He said subsidy payment under Tinubu's government are likely to hit 5.4 trillion naira this year. And now to business. Renowned economist Bismarck Rwani wants organized labor to reconsider its stance on benchmarking the minimum wage demand on dollar exchange rate, saying that it would result in massive job layoffs, especially among the private sector operators who are the major employers of labor. In entertainment, music producer Don Jazzy says he attempted to sell Mo Hit Records, which he co-founded with Afrobeat music legend D'banj, for 1 million naira. In sports, undisputed heavyweight champion Alexander Usyk could return to the cruiserweight division after his rematch with Tyson Fury in December.
And now, we'll bring you news from around the world.
An Israeli airstrike on a UN school packed with hundreds of displaced people in central Gaza has killed at least 35 people. Local journalists told the BBC that an Israeli warplane fired 2 missiles at classrooms on the top floor of the school in the Nuseirat refugee camp. Israel's military said it conducted a precise strike on a Hamas compound embedded inside the school.
This is the news on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
That's a wrap on the news this afternoon. Before we go, let's have a look at the major stories. Uncertainty is looming as the minimum wage negotiations resumes today. Residents of Rivers State are recounting the impact of food implantation on Rivers communities. And on the foreign scene, Israeli airstrike kills at least 35 people at UN school in Gaza. The news was edited by Onyeka Chimusu. To reach the news team, send an SMS or WhatsApp to 0808-721-7215. I'm Ifechukwu Moyeli. Many thanks for listening.